We're back.
We're back with another Working on a Pod. Working on a Pod.
I've been working on it. Working on it. I've been working on it. Working on
Working on a pod. Working on a pod.
Work with it. Working on it.
Addiction.
We're going to talk about addiction.
We're going to talk about addiction. We're working on addiction today.
Yeah.
It's my Dr. Phil coming in. Ryan, how you is though?
I'm feeling good
that?
though. I added another weapon to my arsenal.
Oh no.
Thanks to Mike Posner.
Oh, that's
And
right.
Daryl. Daryl told me to do this years ago, it feels like.
Bingo.
A little man named, well, he's a big man, Wim Hof. Wim Hof, the Iceman, breathing techniques.
Yes.
So I go to Mike Posner's house. He hosted a little workshop. It was all filmed. Can't wait to watch the video. And Mike is a great teacher. He really, he's involved, dives in, and I went to space.
Yes, in a nutshell.
Just from breathing.
Right, yeah, in a nutshell, you do this like fully in, fully out, like
Yeah.
50 times, and you
That's
get
it.
quite the buzz, and it helps put oxygen everywhere in your body.
I don't think we breathe enough, folks. We need more
I think
oxygen.
we need more oxygen, more air.
O2.
I mean, there's literally tanks. I'm spitting. There's a tank at Dr. Amon's office that I've been scanning my brain at, where it's just like they pump oxygen in you, and they want me to go in there and lay in it.
Yeah.
I just like, who has the time? But I will from my brain. But yeah.
But yeah, so the first session,
you
it
were
was
breathing, and then you did the cold plunge
Yeah.
for how many minutes?
Mike Posner's like, we're going to do the cold plunge for 10 minutes. And his cold plunge is a freezer in his garage, 1 degree Celsius. That's 33 degrees Fahrenheit, folks. That's 1 degree from a freezing block of ice. Okay?
Oh, gee.
And I go, hands up, 10 minutes?
10?
What do we got to prove today?
Because when you Google it,
What's going on?
after like 5 minutes, it doesn't count.
Technically, after 30 seconds,
Really?
you're good to go.
You're good?
3 minutes is my sweet spot.
Yeah, we
but
have a cold
because of the
plunge.
10 minutes, I've upped it to 5. But anyways, I get in there and I'm like, don't tell me the time until I ask. And I'm like, all right, I'm very uncomfortable. It's got to be close to 10 minutes. Where are we at? And he goes, you got 5 minutes left. I go, this is going to be the longest fucking 5 minutes of my life. And it was.
Fuck
But
that.
I did it. Felt great. Shivered myself to sleep. And
Yeah, he came home. I'm still cold.
yeah.
But
But thank you, Mike Posner. You're
And
the
now
fucking
you're in
man.
a
Wim
whole
Hof.
new brotherhood.
Yeah.
A wolf pack.
Yeah, wolf pack, baby. I breathed today. Felt great.
You breathed today?
I breathed today. Wim Hof. It was Wim Hof o'clock before I did
Good
this.
for you, man. I get too high when I do it. I get spooky. I get scared.
Yeah, see, I like it. I like that high. Reminds me of ketamine.
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Oh, yeah. What's going on with you?
What am I doing? Oh, I've picked all the skin off my fingers. I need to get nails because my anxiety is crazy. Literally have a Band-Aid. Other than that, I'm great. Just working hard.
You are. I look
We're
at your
in the
schedule and I
Christmas
go,
promo.
man,
It's
it's
bullshit.
Christmas time.
I didn't know that when you put out a Christmas album, it's like, oh yeah, here comes Christmas again every
For
year
life.
for life, dude.
You're going to be
It's
70.
like releasing an album every
You're going to be
Christmas.
70. It's Christmas time.
Fucking Pepe, you see the
I believe in Santa.
if you see the TikToks coming out where I look foolish, it's because it was Pepe saying, "Why don't we put on 6 different outfits?" I was like, "I'm cramping," but we did it. And it's for a good cause, so make sure you go double tap. Other than that, I'm great. I can't
Good.
wait for our guest today, though. I'm so excited.
This is an actual dream come true for me.
Annie.
Dr. Drew is my hero.
Oh, mine's Dr. Phil and yours is Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
Why are our heroes doctors?
I don't know. It's a good
Oh,
question.
but yeah, we watched him on Celebrity
Rehab all my life, and I
Yep.
rewatched it recently during quarantine.
So good.
And then he's got a
So-
bunch of stuff he's doing now. So he's still doing it. He's
He
still
still
doing it.
is, and he
looks
still
great.
looks exactly the same. So why don't we let him in here, huh?
Yeah, let's do it. Dr.
Bing.
Drew. Wait, what do you want to say?
Oh, I went. Bing.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Bing.
Dr. Drew.
Hello.
Hold on now.
Oh,
Let me get everything going.
Oh, there he is.
Dr. Drew.
Hi,
Dr.
guys. How
Drew.
are you? What are you nervous about?
Dude,
You?
you're my hero.
Oh
you
my
look
goodness.
fantastic,
Trust me.
Dr. Drew.
Thank God bless
Yeah.
you. I know it's still not right, but I'll do the best I can here.
Where
guys
are you? Are you East Coast?
I'm in New York City.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you
where
for
you guys?
doing this. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
that
we're in Los Angeles.
Yes, it
Los
is
Angeles?
3 p.m. Los Angeles. He's so nervous right now.
I'm nervous,
It is
man.
3 p.m. for us. This is our podcast called Workin On It, where we talk about things we're working on. I'm Meghan Trainor. I never got to meet you ever, but I've seen you my whole life, so this is very cool. I love doctors and you. This is my older brother, Ryan Trainor. He's even a bigger fan than I am, and he has a lot of questions. We wanted to talk to you about addiction.
Okay. Something I
We're
know something
working
about.
on-
That's good.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Working on addiction.
So I'm on a new journey right now. I think we're coming up to 6 months
Woo-doo-doo, of sobriety.
of sobriety.
Good for you.
Good
Congratulations.
job.
And so that's stone cold sober. Except I'm addicted to nicotine for sure. Still, I don't know if you
How
count
old were
that.
you when you started that?
I remember like smoking it was like these mini cigars when I was like probably 12 or 13.
Yeah, if you start under the age of 15, the probability of you getting off nicotine gets pretty close to zero. So you have to use some kind of nicotine replacement, like gum or lozenges or something.
Well, that's
And
what you do
don't-
now, right? You don't smoke.
And then good. So don't worry about it. Just stay on the log. I mean, my buddy Bob Forrest has been on the nicotine gum for 25 years or something. It's all
Okay,
fine.
great.
Nicotine will not hurt you. Tobacco hurts you.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah. So
Not
I
hurt you.
use tobacco free. It's called Zyn. It's like the same as snus, but it's the tobacco free version of that. And then I just actually got some Nicorette gum for
There
when
you
I'm
go.
out and about and I don't want to put that shit in my mouth.
Hold on. Hang on. What's this stuff called? Zyn?
Yeah, ZYN.
Ooh, you're
if
teaching
it's,
him.
If it's
I'm looking
poison.
it up.
Yeah, he was gonna say it's poison.
I don't trust you.
Yeah, I don't blame
It's
you.
like, what are we
Nicotine
recommending?
pouches. So it's like snooze kind of thing. Okay.
Yes.
This is high dose nicotine. Which
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Brother.
Okay.
It's a bit.
I don't
it's a
know.
bit-
The only thing I don't know is I don't know what they're getting the nicotine from.
Okay.
And I know the Nicorette products are very, very good and very, very safe. So just keep
Okay.
that in mind. That's all.
Maybe I'll just pivot because it's getting to a
Yeah,
point where
whatever
I'm putting too much in throughout the
you
day.
you can go nuts with this stuff.
Yeah.
A friend of mine is a nicotine addict. He was a chew guy.
Yeah.
And he got into the snoozes and stuff, and he had me try it just because I was kind of interested. I wanted to see if it would be an appetite suppressant or anything. Just was interested. And 10 minutes into it, I wanted to vomit.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe
Really?
how strong
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really crazy.
I have friends that are like, I'm not doing what you're doing. I just feel sick every time I do it.
Really?
Yeah. I
Jesus.
just like feel fine.
Well, it's interesting what you said about if you start something younger than 15. And
well,
now
not something, but nicotine
Oh,
in
nicotine.
particular changes.
Oh.
Nicotine is a really interesting molecule that interferes with the interconnectedness of neurons, and the receptors change permanently if you expose them a lot during adolescence. And that deficiency you feel as nicotine craving, and it just never goes away. It just doesn't. It's not
Wow.
realistic to live without some sort of nicotine replacement.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Shucks.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
shucks.
Yeah, but who cares? So
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, sorry I've been
so
so
what?
hard on
Enjoy
you.
your
It's
nicotine.
better than what
Yeah.
booze and
literally
Coke was my other thing.
Literally
Yeah.
1,000 times better.
Yeah.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Don't worry
So
about
I grew up watching your show, Celebrity Rehab.
Yes.
And it's interesting because like I was a young kid and I started drinking at a very young age. And I felt myself like connecting with these grown-ups, right? And I could see their pain with my pain. I'm like, this is a little interesting to me, but I never truly thought like I have a problem. I'm just a party guy. I'm a party guy. This is fine.
Right.
This is fine.
Right.
And then I started hearing you talk to Bert Kreischer. He's one of my favorite comedians, and I love Two Bears, One Cave. And
Okay.
and a lot of his habits sounded like mine. He's like, I can't just have a glass of wine. I got to have a bottle. And you're like, that's not good. And that was always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
He seems fine though, right? He's good.
Well, Bert is kind of a weird. So you've got to be very, very, very specific about what's going on with somebody, and it sounds like I don't know you yet, but it's sounding more like you have sort of traditional what I call drug addiction. Just
Right.
Bert has a bunch of stuff. Bert has generalized anxiety disorder with panic. He has obsessive compulsive disorder. He has eating disorder. I mean, he has all kinds of stuff, and I can't figure out what's primary with him. It seems like his alcohol stuff is sort of binge alcohol, and same thing with his anxiety meds. And only when he said he's so confusing to me. Suffice
gotcha.
to say, it's not good.
He's an enigma.
Yeah. The thing with Ryan too is Ryan has his whole life too had anxiety, definitely anxiety issues too that he never spoke about.
Never addressed.
So he just like ate
I
it
always
all.
rode out the wave.
Well, I'm guessing because you were seeking solutions at such a young age that you didn't just have anxiety, you must have had some trauma.
Yes.
And the trauma is really the issue. That's really what gets addiction. It gets the genetic potential for addiction really going. And when kids start searching around for solutions under the age of 15, particularly under the age of 13, that's trauma. I mean, there's something causing them to be so dysregulated that they have to reach outside of their body to try to feel better. And then if you have the genetics of addiction on top of that, now you have trauma and addiction. Now you have two problems. And that's very, very, very common.
Yeah, I think I definitely had the combo. I was talking to Meghan before. I was like, I think I'm going to tell my story of what happened to me when I was 12 years old. But this moment in time was like very difficult for me to even tell anybody until I was about a senior in high school. I think until I was 18.
Do you want to talk about it? I get this feeling that might not be right for you to talk about.
He's just never had a therapist either.
I know, but I feel your discomfort. Are you sure you want to talk about it?
Well, yeah, but I always get discomfort. I'm on the podcast. I get nervous.
Yeah, but
I
I'm
think
saying is make sure this is the right thing for you to do. I don't
We can
normally
always
say that.
We can always
We can always cut it
We can
out.
always cut it out too. That's the safety.
But I don't
with
mean
this place,
even this.
but-
Sometimes just saying it out loud can be a little overwhelming. But okay, I'm here.
Well, no, because I think I'm okay with it now, and I've been doing a lot of like transcendental meditation. I just started doing Wim Hof breathing, and I've forgiven the kids that affected me in this way. Like I'm okay.
Okay.
And maybe my story could help someone else avoiding. I wish I avoided drinking at such a young age, and I wish I addressed this problem differently. So I guess it was like one of the first, I can't remember if it was the first time I drank or the second time, but it was very close to one of those. And I stayed at a friend's house, and, I'm 12 years old. I was a late bloomer regardless. Like Megan's like, oh, look, you kind of got a beard. I'm 28 years old. And I made a comment like, cause I was so drunk, I sat down to pee cause I'm exhausted, kind of, peed on my balls and made a joke. They're like, how did you do that? How was your dick small? Is your dick small? And they're trying to like take my pants off while I'm drunk. I'm like, no. And then finally we pass out, but I wake up the next morning and I get in the shower. They had drawn measurements on me, right? So then I just like break down. I'm crying. I'm like, what is happening? Get out of the shower, look at my friends. I just go, that was fun, guys. I hope you have a good day. Talk to you tomorrow. Like nothing happened. Like I felt like a mask just went over me and I just became like a different person. And I couldn't shake that moment for like probably 10 years or so.
That's rough.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if something else had happened like earlier in your childhood too to kind of set you up. Did your parents split up or anything early?
No. Fantastic life. Fantastic childhood. Nothing. I just
Did your parents split up when you were younger?
No. Everything was great. I was just like in 6th grade, they were in 8th grade. I wanted to be with the cool kids.
They were older.
I just wanted to be cool.
Do you think while you were passed out something who knows what, right?
I think they took pictures. I don't think they did anything like weird like that. I mean, well, except for drawing on me, with like a fucking
pictures. That is literally child pornography.
Yeah.
That is producing child pornography.
Yeah, but again, they were like 14.
See
they
how
were
he,
kids
like,
as
he
well.
keeps trying to giving them
it
excuses.
doesn't. In most states, that doesn't matter. They committed felonies even if they were under 18.
Right. I wish I can go back and say told somebody. I was so rattled that I just kept it in, and I didn't tell. I think I told you when I was a senior in high school. So
yeah, my mom, when we talked to her about it now, she was like, I picked you up that day. Like, I remember that day. You didn't say anything.
And that's sort of very
know.
typical. And the way our brain works with trauma is we just push it in the back, go, well, I've dealt with it, and just disconnect from it.
Right.
And it is that disconnect that is the problem. And so that traumatized part of yourself is left behind, and literally the neuronal inputs get disconnected. So it's literally a part of you that is disintegrated from the rest of yourself, the rest of your brain. And that injured part needs attention, and it will motivate behavior to get that attention.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel
sense?
like that really set the tone into, all right, now I
using
stayed
it.
away from it for a while, and then by like freshman year, I was like, I'm drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes you said when you get sad, when you were drinking a lot, you get sad and cry about it.
Yeah, like later on, like there was a couple times in college, I would break down to a close friend that I would eventually trust. It takes a lot for me to trust humans after that, honestly.
Right. And that's, again, lack of trust. So let me just give you a little primer on how trauma, we talked about what it does to you. Now, how do you get over it? Well, so it leaves you unregulated. It leaves this whole part of yourself behind that needs attention, that can't get it because it's not connected neurologically to the rest of you. It demands attention. It gets it through nefarious means. To get better, you literally need other brains. You have to enter a frame of closeness with another human, which is exactly what you avoid if you've been traumatized, right? So this is no small task. You've got to get involved in a tight, close, open exchange emotionally with another human being. And that's what trauma therapists do. They're specialized in that. And they have ways of getting you there. All this good stuff you're doing with Transcendent TM and everything, all good, will not heal your trauma. It will not heal your trauma. You have to have trauma-informed care from another brain. Brains heal other brains. And by you essentially offload some of your experiences that comes back to you from the trauma therapist in kind of a metabolized form that you can tolerate. It's not about revivifying the trauma. It's not about reliving the trauma. Nothing like that. It's about just getting you to regulate your emotions as they come up, particularly that part of yourself that's way off in the distance. And things like EMDR and emotionally focused therapy and trauma-informed therapies of various type, very, very effective.
All right. I'm excited for that. I mean, that's like a good little something. Because I tried a therapist in high school, didn't enjoy it. I didn't like him.
Well, you have to get sober first, because you can't really do this work until you're really living a certain kind of life.
Yeah.
Being rigorously honest, not diluting your central nervous system with whatever, because you can't do the work with all that stuff going on. So the first three step, first order of business is get the sobriety going. And some people would say you shouldn't even get into the trauma therapies until you've been sober 6 to 12 months, because sometimes they're evocative and become a good excuse to go use.
Okay.
Wow. I love you.
He's the man. I fucking love him, dude. I told you.
Oh my God. I've been like obnoxiously trying to tell Ryan, like, hey, you need therapy for like years. And I never said it.
Did I get through to him? You think
I never said it correctly, but everything you said is like, oh, wow.
Well, he's going to resist for many, many reasons, right?
Yes.
Because
Now I
one reason
understand.
was he wanted to keep drinking. So that was going to be, he didn't want anybody to get at that. That's what alcoholism is. You organize everything around you to make sure, nobody gets in the way of that. So there's that. And then the trauma also, typically the defense around trauma is, I've dealt with it. I don't need to deal with that. I don't need to deal with that. I'm fine, which is the opposite of the truth. And so those two forces keep people from getting proper care. But you're doing great. I mean, look, how would you say 6 months sober now?
Yeah.
That's huge.
I've never been happier. Like I'm pretty.
Tell
I'm
what you
pumped
did.
for life. What? Oh, I ran the New York City Marathon. I hobbled it. I hobbled the
You
7
did it.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, he's like accomplishing crazy goals nowadays.
Well, the running was very helpful for sobering up, because your mind is racing, and when you're running and blasting music, you don't really think about. I mean, you do kind of think about some life, but you're just going, and it definitely helped big time. Not my legs, but my brain.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's
So
a daily thing. It's a daily thing, staying sober. It's that's why they say one day at a time. You can't go, for the next 10 years, I'm never going to touch anything. No, just worry about today. It's too much to think about the next 10 years. But in the meantime, taking care of your psychological, brain, they're brain issues. I mean, our brains get injured just like every other part of our body. can get injured. And guess what? There are treatments, and guess what? They work. So that's the good news. You live in a time when these treatments are quite efficacious.
Dr. Drew, I recently got my brain examined by Dr. Amen. I did a scan.
Right.
Do you recommend that Ryan does that?
I know Dan very, very well. Did you go to Newport? Is that where you went?
No, I went to there's one in Encino, California.
Okay. Yeah, there's one in Encino too. But I wouldn't do that just yet.
Not yet.
You have significant tasks at hand already.
Yeah.
If you are effectively engaged in sobriety and you're in trauma therapy and you have persistent symptoms that nobody seems to be able to help you with or you can't explain, yes, then that's a good time to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Can I ask you too, for family members? Because we always knew Ryan as oh yeah, it's Ryan, he's drunk, but he could function so well that I would have to ask my manager or my friends, do you think he has a problem? And because I couldn't see it, and I didn't know he didn't have a handle on it,
Right.
And I think my family and I were so no way, no, we were so just denying it.
Well, let me talk you up to see addiction the way I see it, and alcoholism, because we have this weird, for somebody that deals with this, the way people stigmatize and look at alcoholism addiction is bizarre to me. It's bizarre because let me tell you my perspective. My perspective is, first of all, I love working with people with these addictions because whatever comes along with that genetic potential, they're always very smart, very creative, very rich human beings. There's something substantial about that genetic potential. But the more interesting thing is, if you ask the question, where did this come from? Why did this gene evolve? And why is it so damn persistent? If it causes horrible illness, why doesn't it eventually burn out of the human genome? It's around literally as long as there have been distilled spirits. Well, I started thinking about that. I started looking at the, sort of the globe and history and the anthropology. And when you look at it, this is a little bit of a sketch of what I'm have concluded. But essentially, if you look on the globe where people have been isolated, so regional isolation for multiple generations, during which there is some sort of genocidal assault generation after generation, you see alcoholism or the potential for alcoholism emerge. So literally, the potential for alcoholism is a more evolved form of the human being in circumstances of extreme distress, particularly military assault. And I sort of came to that conclusion. I was like, oh, Jesus. Because I was actually at a conference. This is in the early 90s when they started looking at the genes and starting to get some candidate genes for what causes addiction, alcoholism. And somebody brought up, we should be aborting these babies who have this potential. I was like, holy shit, you got to be kidding me. There's something, these are my patients. There's a lot of stuff that comes with the potential for alcoholism that you want to get out of the human genome. No, you don't. And that's when I started thinking about it. And actually, the movie Braveheart portrays this perfectly. 10,000 Scotsmen go into battle and 20 survive. The 20 survivors are clearly the alcoholics. Not that they were using during the genocidal military assault. It's that later during the peacetime, that's when the alcoholism starts to kick in. But so I started going to, I give big lectures to groups of alcoholics and addicts and things. And I go, what would happen if a bunch of English regulars came over the hill here with swords and knives and spears? What would you guys do? 85 to 90% of the room would go, I'd go at them. I'd go to it. I'd fight. And I thought, wow, that is not a normie way feeling. That's
exactly how I feel.
The other way.
I would go right at them.
I would run to safety.
Right. And evidently in these extreme circumstances, that has a lower probability of survival than going at it. And that kind of makes sense to me. And so when you look at who is left now in peacetime with alcoholism, fighter pilots, extreme sports athletes, shortstops. They make great. Anytime there's intensity in extreme circumstances, alcoholics are at their best. Think about it. Did you play baseball when you were a kid?
I played all the sports.
Okay,
I tried them all.
Were you a second baseman or a shortstop?
They had me at pitcher.
Pitcher.
It's pretty
Yeah.
intense.
So you go right in the middle. And what would happen when there was a ball came right at you? It was a complex situation. There was somebody on second and maybe on third. What would happen during the ball coming at you? You remember that?
I'm trying to remember being a kid.
You would
What most people would describe it, when they have this genetic potential is that's, first of all, their anxiety goes away. The rest of us anxiety goes up,
Yeah.
and things slow down.
Yeah,
It's
I was
almost
gonna
like-
say I was
slow
gonna say
motion.
slow motion.
Yeah, everything slows down for you guys. You can
I had a shit ton
assess
of anxiety
everything. You
pitching
knew
the
what's you can almost hear the guy running behind you, and you can see the guy on third, and you can catch
Yeah.
the ball coming at you.
I feel
Yeah,
like in
he was
lacrosse,
so
in high school, I
good
can
at
remember more like
sports.
lacrosse. They had me on defense, and anytime someone was on a fast break, no one else wanted to hit the guy. They're like, "Trainer, go!" And that was always in like slow mo.
Yeah, and that's the gene. And
Okay.
evidently, if the guy was also carrying a
Wow.
spear and a sword, you could take him out. And your sister and I would get stuffed in the back, So,
I've
it's
never
really
heard that
interesting. And
before.
so, and the fact that we disdain and stigmatize alcoholism, that is so bizarre to me as somebody who works with people with this condition. It's
Yeah.
just weird as hell. Let's be honest. I mean, people with addiction, the disease, when they're in the disease, they can do horrible things, but that's part
Yeah.
of the disease. That's not part of the person.
Yeah.
It's what their brain does when they're sick. And we can't seem to distinguish those things here in this country for some reason. Weird.
What's tough for me too is knowing people who, even like Ryan, like could function, could go to work, could have friends, and then, but like he would never like steal from us or do stuff that we saw on like the addiction programs, like
Yeah.
he would never do like truly evil things. So I think that's why we let it go on for so long, because we were like, well, it's not like a problem.
Right.
And I want to know, like, when, I know we can't go back in the past, but like, when should I have been like, hey, buddy, this isn't good? Like,
Do you want to help him?
yes.
Okay. If you want to help him, what you do is you go to a program called Al-Anon, and you get yourself a sponsor, and you learn how to manage having a loved one with this condition. That's what that program is all about. And what I tell people, the people that love alcoholics addicts, that the disease of addiction. Do you ever see The Little Shop of Horrors, the play?
Yeah.
My favorite.
Okay. The Audrey 2, the plant, is a perfect model for alcoholism. What would happen if you went near the plant?
It would like eat you.
You got to feed him.
You
Yeah.
go in, it would eat you.
Yeah.
It would eat you. That's the way alcoholism is. You go near it by yourself, you go in, period. You're part of the disease. You have to have somebody pulling you back, and that's your Al-Anon sponsor. Even I treated this disease for 25, 30 years. I still go in the room with a nurse, with somebody to kind of kick me in the back if I start going into the plant, which I do.
Wow.
When you're
Whoa.
codependent, like we are, you and I are codependents, the disease, it's an interpersonal illness. Because it affects the brain, and we're relational animals, naturally that starts to affect relationships as well as the person with the illness. And it's literally a dance that happens with the illness, and you have to get off the dance floor. And the only way that will happen is with another person who knows how to do that with you, pulling you back. Because every instinct you have as someone, every good instinct you have as someone who loves the person with alcoholism will get used by the disease of alcoholism. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
normal, for parents, this is a bigger deal because normal parenting instincts get used by alcoholism. So you have to suppress your dominant instinct and listen to some objective person, a sponsor, and hold on tight while you move away from the person with the illness. And it can be very uncomfortable and very unnatural. But it works, and it gets the attention of the person with the disease. If you want to get them into treatment, that's the way you get them into treatment. So it wouldn't have been, the reason I tell you this whole long story is it wouldn't have been about you going, hey man, you got to get it together. I mean, think about it. What would you have done to her if she'd done that? It would have been like, are you kidding? I'm fine. I got it.
We used to just
I
joke
mean-
about it. He
Well, no.
would joke more. He'd be like, "Oh, I got a problem," or he'd be like, "Yeah, you do," like it'd be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
casual.
moments where I was like, I have a problem. Then I think when she came to me and was like, you have a problem, like you're gonna end up on the street. I like spiraled. That's when that was my last spiral where like I'm a piece of shit, and I just ordered a bunch of Coke, drank
Right.
a bunch of booze.
So let's
and
look
then-
at that moment. That's how that worked. So
Yeah, and
so
then
she
woke
got
up-
through to you.
that was the only
That
time
was
that
my
I was
last
like,
time.
it's not a joke anymore.
She activated your shame, and so
Yeah.
you used more. I mean, that's
Yeah,
usually what happened.
literally.
But it was
That's
my
what
last. That was my
And
last
he-
two raw, and I woke up on my bathroom floor in fear of my life. Like
Thank
I was
God.
like, I could have
Well, thank
died on
God.
this
Okay,
floor.
so thank God. So it really wasn't that she shamed you; it was that you had a near-death experience as a result of that shame.
Yes.
And
Yes.
near-death experiences is what gets people with this condition to change. It's weird. It's like seeing yourself as you are, and it takes a lot to get through the illness to see yourself as you are. And obviously, I deal with people. Thank God your main thing was alcohol, because as you get into harder drugs, I mean, it becomes harder and harder to
No,
see anything.
it was harder drugs. It was the booze turned into, because you get to LA, it's just everyone's doing coke.
Mm-hmm.
So then I couldn't drink without someone handing me a bump. I guess I look like the coke guy. They're like, "Oh, Ryan will take
Yeah,
it
he
out."
says,
Like,
I
like-
still, when it's cannabis, coke, alcohol.
oh, you're talking like heroin.
Yeah, I'm talking about real stuff.
Got
It's
it.
meth and
Got
heroin,
it.
which is everywhere now. But
Yeah.
the average alcohol, well, not average, many alcoholics will go. They'll typically go one of two ways. They'll start adding benzodiazepines in, Xanax and those drugs, or they'll have cannabis and coke. And interestingly, the cannabis is always the hardest for them to stop. But the syndrome is really kind of still alcoholism, because you're using the coke to drink more,
Right.
kind of, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually did have a problem with Xanax in college because I went to college in Florida, and that was handed out like Skittles.
Thank
But then
God
when
you're
I-
not there now when the Xanax is laced with fentanyl.
Is that what's
Wow.
happening too with that?
Routinely.
Wow,
People
everything's
are
just
dropping
laced
dead
with
all over
fentanyl.
the place.
Oh
Jesus
my
Christ.
God.
Yeah, routinely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Sad.
God you're not
This
doing
was,
that anymore. But he did have to withdraw from Xanax
I
all by
quit that
himself.
because
Oh, boy.
when I first got out here, I didn't have like a connect, even though it was pretty easy once I realized, because everyone out here still does it. But yeah, I couldn't sleep.
I can guarantee you what he did. He drank more to get off the Xanax. So there you go.
Yeah.
No problem.
He's
I
like,
got this.
he
I got
looks
this.
at it now in his
Yeah.
past, and like he's like, I wish I just called mommy. I wish
Yeah.
I called for help,
No.
and because he was
No.
just so in his
No.
shame that he just suffered alone.
No, it's just the way this thing is. It's unrealistic to think you could have changed the course. Either of you. You had to go where you went. Thank God you accelerated it by shaming him. It was very dangerous to shame him, by the way. But you
Dude, also
accelerated
he
it.
was a bottle deep. I didn't know this. I was working all day. He was working all day, but
Yeah.
he had a bottle because I can't tell
Yeah.
that he was even drunk.
It was reasonable on her end. I was acting a bit too much. I
I
was
just
like
went in and was like,
drinking on the job.
I've noticed, yeah, you're drinking. He worked for me. He was my videographer and took
Yeah.
pictures for me. And I was like, I noticed you're more drunk than normal, and like, it's
we had to
fun,
work
but
on a
it's getting
Saturday. I don't know.
Saturday is so
I had to go
hard.
out.
I work
was
every
selfish.
day.
I realize what I do is I look back. I'm like, I was just a very selfish individual, and now I feel much better, being way more empathetic, being very happy with my situation and the people around me, and I just feel great. I was a selfish individual.
But I always knew, especially because I was always asking questions about my anxiety and my mental health. I was like, I need a therapist. And when I started learning more, I tried to tell him, like, I think there's a deep rootedness in you that needs help.
Yeah,
And-
it's well, again, so by the way, I recommended codependent treatment for you. Therapy will oftentimes adequately be enough. You don't have to go to Al-Anon, so having a really good therapist could be adequate as well. These are complex syndromes. There's a genetic basis, there's a trauma element, there's the other illnesses sometimes come with alcoholism, like depression. What is your guys' ethnic heritage?
I think we're English, Polish, French. The French is on mom's side.
We're
Dad
British.
is like British English.
British, Northern England, like Scotland.
I don't know.
I didn't go to a lot of 8th grade, so maps are hard.
No. We just like
You guys
don't
you're from Massachusetts,
really
right?
know.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, we're
My dad
from
grew up in Springfield,
Nantucket
Mass.
Island.
We grew up in
Oh my
Nantucket.
God, I went
Cape
to
Cod.
Amherst College.
No way.
Oh, there we go. There
Yes,
we
I
go.
did. Yes,
Oh, I want
did.
to ask you, do you know any good therapists out here that he could see in
I
California?
I do know
Really?
somebody good. Yeah.
Because that's my
I know.
other problem is, like, I have an amazing one, but she's too busy, and like conflict of whatever. But
Well,
like,
I have one that
it'd have to be a good one for
I
him.
send trauma stuff to her all the time, and she's very, very good with trauma. So trauma, you got to be in person, because
Really?
it's body to body.
I'm an
Oh.
in-person guy too.
Okay,
I need
okay,
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
speaking of like,
it's a half hour from where you are. It's a half hour. I mean, it's
that's
worth it.
fine.
So,
Everything's
yeah.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, does mom's parents, didn't they have
Oh,
some
we have a
sort
lot
thing?
of alcoholism in the family,
Right,
for
of
sure. We have a
course.
lot of trauma. We have
course.
suicide in the family. We
All right.
have.
And it's hard to tease out again, is that all alcoholism or is there depression also? And, the genes are
Yes.
very, very, very important. And I've treated, maybe as many as 10,000 addicts in my career. And, you can always see the family history. It's always there.
I wish
maybe
you could,
5
like-
patients where it wasn't obviously there.
I wish, like, as a baby, you could take a test and they go, "Oh, heads up, he's got the gene."
I know, right? Like-
Can they do that yet?
Yeah,
No.
I mean, one day they will, but I got to tell you, it doesn't necessarily change the course, right? You certainly would want to protect that child from trauma because trauma is the rocket fuel for addiction.
Right.
Addicts and alcoholics are very sensitive too. They're very emotionally, sensitive people.
Yes, you are, my big boy.
And I consider it, and I call that rich. I think they're emotionally rich
Yes.
people, very human beings, very human condition.
Yes.
So they're kind of easily traumatized or at least easily hurt.
Yes.
That being the case, I mean, if you knew what you were dealing with, you might be careful with that. I'll tell you what, most parents of children, if the parent has alcoholism, particularly in recovery, they can identify the kid with the gene by the age of 3. They have no
Wow.
problem telling you that's the one. That one's got it. And more than
wild.
anybody else, that they can see it across the room. It's crazy. It's crazy to me how accurate addicts and alcoholics are in seeing the condition in other people, and particularly their own children. So they kind of already do know it. They usually do, particularly again if they're in recovery. But it doesn't, because the part of the gene is. You defend against stuff and you don't listen to people. And that's kind of, part of the condition.
It's so
Yeah.
stubborn.
Yeah. I mean,
Stubbornness,
my
yeah.
dad and my mom told me all the time, avoid this, avoid this, avoid this. And I always I go, yeah, no, I am. I'm not doing that. And just did it the hard way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But
And they had no idea.
it's good times.
Good times. We learned so much.
Yeah.
This was a great episode. What else do I have to ask you before you leave me?
I can't help but comment. You've adopted something my wife does all the time, which is she adds syllables to all kinds of 1-syllable words. I just learned another one.
Yeah.
This is matcha.
Matcha.
Noah.
Megan, you definitely do that. all
I
the time.
definitely do that. We're
He does that like
tough.
crazy. I've never brought it up before.
Tell her I said hello.
I guess my question is, like, 6 months in, I started going out again, and nothing really triggers me
Yeah, right now.
now. That's
which is
why
good.
I want
This
to
is
know.
good.
I mean,
Are you in the program? Do you have a sponsor?
I'm not in
He
any
went
program.
cold turkey.
I'm just kind of.
So you might want to do that. So the reason being is the program is set up for exactly the question you're asking me, is how do I stay sober and get out in the world? Number one, and then number two, you can't. The program is also designed to manage the depression and anxiety that is inevitable when somebody with alcoholism stops using. It's just inevitable. And a lot of negative thinking and a lot of negative self-talk, and it's all part of the condition. And people with the condition can reflect that back to you and go, "Yeah, that's the bullshit. That's the illness. Stop it. Stop it. Get that shit out. Stop it," and sort of get you out of that. It's hard to see it. It's a different brain, my friend, and so it's hard for a normie to kind of see it. And people that can say to you, "Me too," or "I've been there. I know what this is." It's extremely powerful to be around people that are managing the same exact biology
Gotcha.
that you're managing.
And could
Right.
that therapist also help him and guide him with
You
that
know,
too?
they don't work that. It doesn't work like that. I mean, if it's a recovering therapist sometimes, but the position of therapist is just a little different. The alcoholic can bust your balls. The therapist doesn't really do that. The therapist lets you come to them with everything, while the recovering people go, "Hey, douche, shut up, stop
Yeah.
it, get off your ass, stop whining." You know, they're coaches. They're kind of coaches. And things like, "Oh my God, I'm going out there. Somebody's going to offer me cocaine. What do I do? And somebody will just tell you, "Here's my phone number. Call me if you're struggling." That's it. It's very simple. It's just a thing that has evolved to help people like you live a good life. It's bottom line. So there's two things, right? One is the addiction, alcoholism, and the other is the trauma, and they have overlapping and similar kinds of. Well, they're overlapping each other. Let's just put it that way. But each need their own special attention that works.
And somebody could do that with weed too, right? Because my little brother's a little pothead.
Yeah, cannabis is some of the most difficult because the culture says there's no such thing as cannabis addiction, right? And most cannabis addicts can kind of control it. It's not like they go to a bottom where they think they're going to die. That almost never happens.
Right.
They just get to the point where they're kind of disgusted with themselves. And disgust is an important motivation, right? Did you ever experience any disgust?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He
Yeah,
calls
disgust
himself
is a
a
really-
piece of
'cause
shit.
disgust-
I'm a
So
piece
fear
of
of
shit.
death and disgust can be very powerful. They both are
Yeah.
motive. They move you. They make you do something. You have to change.
Yeah,
and that
I got the 2-for-1 when I saw my face in the mirror
Good.
bloody, and I
Good job.
had a fight with my sister, and I'm
Yes.
like, ah, man.
Yeah. So disgust and fear of dying, those are very powerful. But you don't, it's hard to get to the fear of dying with cannabis. You never really go there, but you can get disgusted with yourself, but that takes a long time. In the meantime, the culture tells them it's not addictive. Don't worry about it. You got it under control. And they kind of do, but the effects on them are much more severe than they realize. They have trouble. They lose the ability to engage the way they would have if they weren't. It's like a bridle. It's like a weight that they're trying to get through life with. It's like they're in molasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very tough for them. Yeah, and it's tough when people are young and they should be really engaging in things and vibrant. And it's sort of if you're using a lot of weed, it'll affect you. It just does. It's a drug. I mean, all drugs affect people.
Yeah, I smoked a lot mainly in high school, and all I wanted to do was play video games. It definitely slowed me down. And then by the time I got to college, I didn't care for it, and I would just have panic attacks most of the time.
I ate too much weed.
Yeah.
I used to eat 5 edibles every night while I was famous, and I think I used it to cope with what was going on. And then one day I ran out of that brand. That was a nice small dose, and I spooked myself, and my soul left my body. And then it never came back.
Fear of death.
Yeah.
Fear of death. And so
panic attacks
I
are no
can't-
fun, and I've
No.
seen panic attacks triggered
Yeah.
by cannabis. And
Yes,
that's the other thing
that's
with
what
cannabis.
all mine was.
If you use it long enough, you'll also start to get more anxious and more depressed. And
Yeah.
and what you do is use more to try to correct it,
Yeah.
and that makes
Yeah.
the symptoms worse.
Yeah.
And that's when people, unfortunately, sometimes switch to other things when they
Gotcha.
can't, or they'll take
See,
breaks.
I just
and go
went
back.
sober, to the point where I'm scared to take Tylenol PM because I'm like, will I wake up? That's how
So
spooked
you just,
I got.
and no, there's a difference between somebody that uses a lot of something and somebody who's really got a motivational problem, a motivational disturbance where they can't stop. And that's a different thing. So you use a lot and you stop. Okay.
Maybe that's
good
why
times.
my fear of death is so high too. Since that day.
Because that moment.
Bruh, I was like, this is my death. I'm going to die like this, eating a lollipop.
Forgetting how to breathe.
Forgot to I was like doing a puzzle. I was like, forgot. It was scary.
Yeah, there is kind of this look on weed of just it's medicine. Everyone should
Yeah.
have it, and it's everyday
Yeah.
thing.
And look, it's like
not.
alcohol. Most people can use it with no big deal, but
Yes.
some people not so much. Not so
Yeah.
much.
Right.
Wow. So I have a 10-month-old son. Are there any signs I could see if he's addicted to anything, or should I be looking out?
No, I mean, the one thing you'll see in childhood is that's the kids that's jumping off the furniture and breaking his arm and stuff like that.
Haha.
Yeah. The
Mine's
thrill
pretty
seeking.
chill for now.
Thrill seeking, lack of fear, that's all stuff. That's all indicators.
He's
I mean, it
afraid.
doesn't necessarily mean anything, but that is sort of the way those people with this genetic potential kind of look in childhood. They're they're the ones getting hurt.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. We watched a bunch of our childhood videos during quarantine.
Yeah, he would
And I was just a maniac.
Yeah.
Running around.
See,
All
but that's a
over the
great.
place.
I think this should be celebrated. It's a great thing.
He's
It
rich.
just has this side thing that happens. This thing that you got to be careful with. That's all. You don't just feel bad about it. It's just unfortunate that if you let it go too long, then you have to really do something active about it.
Yep.
So
Yeah. No, I'm feeling good, man. And this
good.
talk, you saved my life, I think.
Yeah,
with this
dude.
trauma therapy thing.
My
I don't-
mom's listening, probably crying upstairs. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. Sorry. Love
Happy
you. But
But,
I'm so grateful for you. You have no idea what you've done for
Pleasure.
my entire family.
Absolute pleasure. It's easy.
Right? Say thank you.
Yes, thank you again. Thank you.
It's why I like dealing with this illness. I mean, it's such a the inspiration I get from the people that get better. I sometimes I don't see them for years, and then they show up, and I have this weird experience of we ran a tough program when I was running a big program, and I had to kick people out of treatment a lot. And damn it, if people don't come up to me, 15 years later and look me in the eye, and somebody I can barely recognize now because they're so different, and shake my hand and said, that I was not ready to hear what you were telling me, but when you discharged me, kicked me out, that got through to me. I still messed up for another year or so, but I kept thinking about it, and it got through to me. And when I was ready, I thought, yep, this was part of breaking through my denial. So
Wow.
it's challenging. It's dangerous. You have to be careful. You have to,
Right.
It's a very, selective thing. You don't abandon patients. I'm not suggesting that anybody do that.
Right,
and
right,
I
right.
never want families, there's this whole tough love thing that people think they're doing. Most people don't know what they're
no.
doing with that. It should be a very caring, loving move. It either is, I love you so much, but I can't stay in. It is destroying me, so I have to take care of myself and leave.
Right.
Or I'm not good for you. I'm contributing to the problem. The disease is bringing me in and making your disease worse. I have to pull myself out right now. It kills me. I love you. If you're ready, I'm here for you. But as long as you're in your illness, I can't keep going. And you have to really bare your heart when you leave somebody with this disease. And it is dangerous. It is dangerous, but oftentimes that's what gets through to them. And you really can't do anything else oftentimes. When you're a family member, you often cannot. And you won't do it on your own. We'll do it out of anger. You'll do it out of resentment. And that is not what we're talking about. You should not be the least bit angry. It should be accepting the circumstances and doing it with love and being clear that you are 100% ready to support the recovery, but you can't be around the illness anymore. Whatever that is, that has a million different variations on it. And again, that's why the Al-Anon program is so powerful, because somebody will help you navigate this particular circumstance that you are in such a way that you're healthy and it has the optimum impact on the person with the illness too.
I think you were close when you talked to me. You were crying. You were saying, "I love you."
Bro, I couldn't breathe. I was like, I was not rocketing. But I was
I woke up,
was
I
trying
thought
to
about
say-
what you said, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh. And then that's when I walked out of my room and I go, "I love you guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm done."
Had you started therapy at that point?
Megan?
Me?
Megan, yeah.
I don't think at that point I was even in therapy. I've done
You're in
therapy
Top Chef?
before.
Okay.
No, I think after that I asked for therapy because I was like, I'm exhausted and this is a lot for me.
Yep. Makes sense.
Makes sense. But yeah, my husband's very supportive, and my husband was like, "Go on in there." And when I came out,
Okay,
crying, he
because I was going to say you won't do this on your own. You can't do it. There has to be some.
No, it was also a buildup. It was a buildup of my
I know,
husband
but there's
and I
still.
over and
I'm
over
telling
again.
you, there's somebody's got to be in your corner, or it won't happen.
Yeah.
It won't happen.
No, like recently as I got therapy too, it's been so helpful of like, how is everything going? And I'm like, yeah, it's great. I wish my mom would get therapy. That would be so lovely. For her birthday, do we get her therapy?
She's like me,
Come on,
I'm
therapy's
afraid of it.
amazing. Don't be
It
afraid
is. I was in
of
therapy for 11 years, you guys. 11
Come
years.
on, let's go.
And it was emotionally focused therapy, and it made me so much more effective as someone
Right?
helping other people. Oh my God, best thing I ever did.
I have a question. Last question, I promise. How many hours a night do you sleep, and why don't you age? It's a double question.
So-
why do you look the same age every single year?
I'm sure that won't last, whatever that is. I've been feeling old lately, and COVID knocked me down a
You're
notch
literally
even further.
buff. Like you're
Oh,
flexing.
you got COVID?
You got COVID?
I had terrible COVID. I think if I just a
You
little
still have it?
self-disclosure, I've been noticing lately, I'm a little depressed. We were talking about the weed patients, where they can't do much. I've got that kind of weird thing going on. I'm not doing as much as I normally do. And I noticed it a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, what is going on? And I think, then a friend of mine who's a physician piled a bunch of literature in my inbox showing that depression after moderate to severe COVID is almost universal. It's very common. And I thought, yeah, it feels like that. It's very vague, very weird, very I'm pushing through
Cloudy.
it. It's not that big a deal, but it's just not myself.
Wow.
So there's that. And I have made an effort. So I'll tell you another quick story. I was doing internal medicine. One of the things I did was I took care of a bunch of patients in a dementia nursing home. And when I first got there, I was walking around getting to know these patients, and I noticed all the men at the side of their bed was a picture of them when they were younger, and they were all like admirals and captains of industry, and they had these factories and car dealerships. And I was like, oh my God, these people. And I thought, oh, it must be the stress of having been in those positions. Maybe that's what the risk factor for dementia is. So I would talk to their families, and they would all go, stress? Oh my God, no, he loved what he was doing. He never slept. And I thought,
Wow.
ooh, I got to sleep. I got to make sure I sleep. And so I try to sleep 7 or 8 hours a night. I try to work out every day. I avoid carbohydrates and things. So I'm trying to take care of things properly. But
Me too.
I came to it late, man. I was at least 45 or 50 before I started really paying attention. Before that, I was sleeping 4 hours a night, working my ass off. I was really not good in terms of how I conducted myself in terms of health.
Yeah, at 20, after I had my baby, now I'm like health freak. I love it.
Good.
But I was
good.
like, why didn't I do this at 21? But it's okay. I'm here now.
Our brother's the one that
27.
showed us how important sleep was.
Yeah, our younger brother. He like showed us that book. What's that book?
I can't
Wise.
fucking remember.
Something
It's very
sleep.
important. It's very,
Yeah.
it's
Sleep
very
is
important.
everything.
It really is very
Why
important.
do we sleep
but
or
I'll tell you what,
something?
Why do you sleep?
I'm mostly convinced that it's very important after the age of like 40, 45. That's where it becomes critically important.
Okay.
Young people can withstand a lot. And I'm not sure it's that important under those ages, but it probably has benefits. But it's clearly essential, middle age and beyond, essential.
Why We Sleep. That's the book. Go check that out. That's a good one.
I hope my dad's getting enough sleep.
Bro, that's what I
don't
no.
think he is.
What if he what if all my life that I've known him 27 years, he gets up every night to pee at like 3 and then 5. Is he screwed?
Your
Because
dad?
his memory is not awesome.
Your
And
dad?
he's like, yeah. And
Well,
he's
why
like
doesn't he get
75.
his prostate checked so he can sleep through the night, for Christ's
Boy
sake? This is
PBs.
ridiculous.
And now I pee after the baby. I get up at 3 every night.
So I understand, but look, there are treatments for that for men. To
Really?
make them be able to sleep the whole night. That is technically
gotta tell
nocturia.
I think he knows.
Nocturia is technically a sleep disturbance. He needs to get that properly managed. And by the
my
way,
God, I'll
it's not good
tell
for your
him.
bladder, not good for your kidneys. Let's get him to see a urologist.
We're going to save
Dr.
lives.
Drew,
Dr.
dude,
Drew.
taking care of the whole Trainor fam.
Dr.
Love
Drew.
to see it.
Right. That's right.
Wow. Okay. Well, we don't want to take any more of your time. Thank you for saving our lives and my dad's prostates.
I listen, and here's the other thing. As my patients humble me all the time and remind me that I don't do anything. I just turn them towards what they need to do. They do the work. You do the work. And so good luck. And I'll get you the name of a good therapist I've got. Hopefully she has room.
Please.
And
That'd be
I'll
awesome.
email that to whoever I've been emailing with.
Yeah.
And they can forward it to you. Okay.
Oh my
Amazing.
goodness. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Is there
much.
anything you're doing right now you want to promote?
Sure. I do a streaming show at least 3 days a week. It's
That's
Dr.
right.
Drew, drdrew.tv. Maybe I can get you guys on there. We have fun with that show.
Okay.
It started in the depths of COVID and to help people just make sense of what's going on out there.
Yes.
How do we make sense of what's being presented? Because the press was so bad and continues to be so bad.
Yeah.
So, like, really, how do you make sense of what's going on out there? And then there's something called Dr. Drew After Dark, which is sort of an incarnation of old Loveline, and which is at your mom's house. And it's all, and my other podcasts are all at drdrew.com. So
Amazing. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Best birthday ever.
Pleasure to meet you
for
guys,
Mama.
and hopefully let's meet in person sometime. Okay.
Yes, please.
That'd be great.
Okay, go to
Please.
bed now, please. Yes.
Yeah, get them Z's.
Congrats on your looks and your life.
Thank you,
so
guys.
much.
Appreciate it.
Bye,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Drew.
Bye, Dr. Drew.
Bye-bye.
Oh, man, I knew it was going to be the best episode of all
The
time.
greatest episode of all time.
Man,
Whoa, dude.
just got to work through it, baby.
You gotta, I'm telling you, it sucks, but you gotta work through it.
You
You
know?
gotta open, like, picture this, like, oh, here's your trauma here. It's stitched up, right? You gotta rip it up. Rip out them stitches. Open
Gotta
it
rip
up.
them out, open it up, dive in.
Dive
I guess,
in.
yeah. I guess it's
and then
trauma.
try to get trauma.
Just trying to figure out why I am
Why?
me.
Wait, what's that Oprah book I love so much?
What happened?
What
to you?
happened
I tried to
to-
read it. I got
What
bored
do you
immediately. I did not
mean?
like it.
Did you read
Not
it
for
or
me.
listen? 'Cause I read it and it
tried
was
to
good.
read it. Tried to read it.
Oh, man.
Tried to read it. I'm reading a book now called
What Happened to You? Is that it?
Whatever. Yeah.
What Happened to You by Oprah.
I'm reading
Amazing book.
Think Like a Monk. Great book.
Uh-oh.
D Money, you would love it. D Money's in the room right now. He's nodding his head.
He would. Hi,
But,
Dan Zero.
I'm just so happy we got Dr.
Dr.
Drew
Drew,
on this
what an
episode.
honor. Oh, my God.
I knew that,
This was your idea. How funny is that?
Yeah, he was the only doctor I wanted to talk to. He
Yeah,
kept
I'll talk to you.
I
Dr.
deserve the
Drew.
best of the best of the best.
You do, baby boy.
No, that was a real treat. And
Oh, you know what we
Man,
got to get is
changed
Daddy
my
Phil.
life. We have to.
We have to get Daddy Phil. I'll tell him, listen, I got the other doctor.
Yeah.
Get up on here. Talk to my brother.
We got Ryan's doctor. Now I get my doctor.
My doctor. We need Daddy Phil if you're I'm Dr. Phil if you're watching this. Please come on our show. We love you.
Yeah, we can go through all over it again. This podcast is great, man. I love you.
I love you.
Life's just
Who
getting
cares
better
if
and better.
nobody watches it?
No, Mom listens.
Listens.
Sorry for the birthday
Everyone's listening.
present of
Happy birthday, Mama.
children with trauma.
We're throwing her a Harry Styles birthday party right now.
Yeah,
and
it's
we're gonna
gonna
go back
be fine.
upstairs. That's why I'm wearing my Love on Tour.
Love on tour. I'm
Love
Harry
on Tour, Harry
Styles.
Styles.
I'd say it's for you, but it's really just for me because I'm Harry Styles. You gotta
All
watch
right,
the
thank you
TikTok.
so much for watching.
Working on a pod on all socials. Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna put links below to places that can help you out if you want to talk to a therapist or have addiction
Yeah.
issues.
We should do that, and then all
Link
Dr.
below.
Drew's stuff as well.
And all Dr. Drew stuff. Check it out. He's a hero.
Yeah, like and
We're
subscribe.
proud of you, Rye. Proud of you.
You know what? I'm proud of me too. Finally.
Finally.
28, almost 29.
Yay!
Applause.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Working on